and putting it out into the world, it's like they're gonna think I'm fucking crazy.
What do you want out of life? Where are you headed?
You don't want to look like a bitch in your business. Like, you need help. You're like the successful guy in everyone else's eyes.
People have asked me to be a mentor for their children when I was a child myself. It's not work for me to help a person see a better version of themselves, because we're all destined for greatness.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Monico, and today we got a very amazing guest. She has an awesome resume of all the stuff all the places she's worked in, specifically in marketing. So it's interesting. We're in marketing, so I'm like, we need her perspective on a lot of these things. She has 20 plus years experience in this field. But I want to start off to asking you a question. What's one thing that you see within all these organizations, like good or bad, because they all have to have some correlation in common? I mean, what's something that you think they all have, that they would have in common? Without further ado, Eva, appreciate it for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So what's one thing that you think they would have in common of all these big companies? Because you've worked with the top companies of like VP and marketing and stuff. Mm-hmm. What's something that you see that like all these do this to be successful, or they're all lacking in this?
I think it's super important to have a roadmap and know where you're going. So keeping your eye on the prize, on the bigger picture, and then empowering the right people to put together the plan to make it happen. No one person has all the answers. So it has to do with empowering your team and your people.
You were telling us you retired at 45. How does that work? Because, you know, the average person does it better at that age.
I did all right.
How's that go?
It felt really good, actually, to be able to say that I'm retired. I as I was telling you guys, my first phone call was to my financial advisor. Can I retire? And she said, yeah, you're okay to retire. So that gave me a significant sense of relief.
Did you quit before calling her, or how was this?
Actually. So I
was it just like a hi, by the way?
Yeah, no. So how it works is in corporate, we have bonus plans and things like that. So a lot of times in the industries that I've been a part of, March is when the bonuses are paid out. So if anybody's looking to make a big career move, they wait until the bonus is paid out, because the bonus is sometimes your salary or half your salary or twice your salary. So you get that paid out, and then you go and you do something else. Either you go to another company. And so bonus check was coming. My advisor said, you're good to go. I felt great and made the decision to step away. And I didn't know what I was going to do next, but I took a good few months trying to figure out my inventory of what are my skills, what made me happy, what did I bring to the table to get me to kind of where I am now in the business that I'm in today.
Was it like a scary jump for you? Kind of going from like, you're like in the corporate world and you're doing all this stuff, and then to just say, bye, I'm done?
It is a scary jump, especially when your identity is tied to your profession and your industry and everything like that. So it's kind of going from the top and coming back down to level bottom and restarting. Yeah, there's a little bit of scary, but that's kind of the challenge and the fun of it too.
Because you probably have like a lot of people reporting to you, right? If these are multi-million-dollar companies, and if you're the VP of something, I mean, it's... So like going back to the identity thing. So when you retire, how was that? Did you have all these people reporting, pretty much saying like, oh, like you're the boss pretty much in a sense, and now you're retired and like you're just
back to what makes a great organization is if it can run without the leader. And that's with having the right strategies, the right values, the right goals in place to keep the company running. I knew my team was going to be okay. I'm still in touch with almost everybody I've ever worked with. That our relationship is certainly past whatever our working relationship was. In fact, today's my birthday, and I already got a couple of texts from people that I worked with before that. I'm still on their calendar, so it's nice to know that I made an impact on them. But no, I knew that they were going to be okay. Plans were already in place, but I knew that it was time for me to move on and find something that was more for me.
Happy birthday again.
Thanks.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday when we're recording, not when it goes live.
Yeah.
What's the company culture with an organization that's huge? how important is that? Do you have to have the company culture kind of like wait till you have a bunch of employees before you start setting it? Because there's a lot of like small business owners that listen to this, and maybe they're just solopreneurs, or maybe they already got some employees. When should somebody start, thinking of doing some company culture stuff?
That's a great question. So as a solopreneur, the company culture is you, right? It's only you. And like you guys, you have to get to a place of who you are and what you stand for. We call that our company values. Where are you going? We call that the company vision. And as you bring on more people, so in a solopreneur, you still need to write that stuff down, not just in your head. You need to write it down. In some of the big companies I worked in, you couldn't walk down a hallway or go into a break room or a lunchroom without having a poster or something that speaks to our company values, our vision of who we want to be in X years or in the world. And I think having those things in place makes it very clear to people coming into the company what this company is all about. And then
what's the difference of like actually writing it down instead of just like thinking it?
You write it down, it becomes a part of what you see every day. And, as I look around in your studio, I see words like be proactive. I see words like, other things in here that inspire some action, right? And so the idea of values, they should not just be words on a wall, but they should inspire a way of behaving and acting and performing your job. And then another component of having those values is imagine that when you do your employee reviews or you do your annual reviews and you actually grade yourself on how am I doing to this value? So if one of your values is honesty, am I always honest? And I don't mean honest as in you're stealing money, right? I mean honest as in you're giving honest feedback to your staff, honest feedback to your partner. How do I do with that? And then having your other team members grade you on that as well. So if there are gaps in that, how do we go to improve? That is how you live your company values. Company culture isn't about throwing a great, game or a picnic every year or whatever. Those are just fun stuff to have. Company culture is about knowing who you are, knowing where you're going, and living those values. And when an employee comes in and sees, oh, these guys are serious about that list of values, they either become like you or they weed themselves out because they're not made of that same material. And I think those are critical.
Yeah, I recently heard a podcast of a guy who has like a clothing brand, and he openly talked about it. He's like, I thought company culture was going out and like hanging out. We'd rent out yachts and go like have fun for like the weekend and stuff. But then people started just living for that, and people thought that that's what working here was meant to be. But it wasn't. It wasn't until I took a step back that I kind of like realized and stuff. He was like talking about like the whole process he had to go through, that he pretty much had to like fire everybody and rehire new people because they already had that different mentality in mind. That's what they thought working for him was going to be. Because you'd be all fun and games all the time and no work.
How tough is that though, to be able to like see it and have to take a step back and kind of see it? Because most of us, I've seen a quote, one of the questions you'd love to ask on your LinkedIn. I've seen it said some of us, we work in the business, but we don't work on the business because it's so hard to take that step back.
A lot of times I think business owners and founders find it difficult to step away from the business because they think, oh, I have to wear all the different hats and I have to do everything. But that's why you have people. And even if your people are only 4 people, you still have people. You don't have to take it all on yourself. You have to let them do some of the thinking so that you can do some of the higher level thinking that a founder or a CEO needs to have in the business. And if you think that taking time away from your day-to-day is going to steal time from you, it's exactly the opposite. It actually gives you more time back. It gives you more clarity. And it puts you in a position of having more leadership, right? Because everybody that works underneath you is looking at you to be the one with the answers. And so if you can give them that guidance, they will find a way to make that happen. It doesn't all have to fall on you. It's critical to take time for yourself.
Do you think everyone should be a business owner? Because you're kind of talking about the leadership and doing this and being able to take charge. I don't know if everyone's kind of like meant to be able to handle that kind of heat. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's a lot of people that the same situation you're in, like hard for you, is probably like, it's probably really hard. For somebody else, they're like say if we're doing at a scale 1 to 10, something for you that's like a 5, someone else is like at a 15 already. So how do you think business is for everyone?
I do. Because at any point, if anybody even has a job working somewhere, I always used to tell everybody in any position that worked for me, if they were a graphic designer, I would say, you are the CEO and president of graphic design, because I don't have another graphic designer. You're it. So I need you to be the best version of yourself that you can be in that role. And so as you go to progress, if that graphic designer then became the head of marketing communications or something like that, they have to always have that ownership mentality in their job. So I think that's what I did throughout my career. I always had ownership mentality. Now, that doesn't mean that I was always necessarily running the P&L and owning the business. But if you think about it from that perspective, it's only going to help you to grow.
That's an interesting way to. I never thought about it. I mean,
100%.
But that's ideally that's the kind of mentality you want your people to have.
And they have a lot of ownership and pride in their work with that as well, and they put a lot of themselves in it. And now back to you being the one that can direct and be honest with feedback. Feedback should always be honest, it should always be direct, and it should always be in a positive way. It's to help them get better in their position. And if you think about it, if they are getting better in their position, doesn't the company then get better? And doesn't your life then become easier? And that's simply leadership. It's just staying above it, but empowering other people to do their work the best that they can.
How do you sell that vision to someone? Like when you first bring them on, like, I want you to do this and I want you to be the best at it. Like, how do you sell that to them?
It's as easy as that. It's as easy as that. And if you think about your role, okay, my role is, the great thing is I was never a graphic designer. I don't know how to use any of the tools, which makes it really easy for me not to jump in and do their work for them. But I knew what good looks like. And so I can direct them on that. And I would ask things like, what do you need to get better? If they needed to take a course, or if they needed a couple of hours to go to a seminar, or if, depending on whatever their different jobs are, I asked them, how can I help you get better at what you do? And oftentimes it was remove a roadblock or give me a skill I didn't have before.
Selling that vision, I think, to add to it a little bit, I think it'd be tough, because a lot of times when we're selling the vision, to be completely honest, I don't know if sometimes as the business owners we know what the vision is. So try to sell something to someone that we don't even know what it is can be challenging. And for example, like maybe you have a vision that's perfect lined out for this year or for the next 3 years, but then you never look at it again. Well, then it's like we have to keep evaluating it. And there's like, I started my business 5 years ago and this was my vision, but you never changed anything. So trying to sell it to somebody else, I think, might be more.
It could also be scary too. We talk about it all the time. Like, this is where I want to go. But then putting it out into the world, it's like they're gonna think I'm fucking crazy. Like,
and then if you don't come through,
then you're like, oh shit! Like, that fear kind of starts to eat at you.
So back to your original question, when you asked me what do the big companies do, that vision is on the wall. You walk into that building and you see that. You walk into that break room, you see that. On the cover of their website, in the About Us, it's there. It's always there. And I remember using that in my interviews. So a vision is on this wall, values are on that wall, and I have an interview with a candidate that's going to be, another leader in a company, and I say, this is our vision. How does this speak to you? And I'd love to hear from them where they see themselves in that vision, or what in that vision intrigued them to be a part of this company. And then I could point to the list of values and say, these are our company values. Which one of these is the most important to you? There is no right or wrong answer, right? Any of those are going to be good. And then I might even throw in which one of these do you think you're the weakest at? Because I'm also trying to learn where could they need some help. But right off the bat, they know that we are very goal-oriented and we know where we're headed. This is our vision, where we want to go. And this is how we're going to get there. Are you aligned? And if they haven't done their homework and looked on my website first to learn that, that's on them. I find that immediately from the interview, and they don't make it to round 2. And then it stays living as a part of our culture, in that we always go back to the vision, Make sure that we're all living it through our culture, and what you get is results. Because, we talked about the 5 dysfunctions of a team, right? The base bottom line is communication. If we don't know how to talk to each other, that's going to cause us a problem in order to reach the pinnacle of having our goals met. Because everybody wants to get paid and everybody wants raises. And the only way we're going to do that is if the company meets their goals for the year.
Do you find communication to be sometimes difficult if it's happening more through like video calls instead of like in person?
Actually, no.
No?
Mm-mm. I know that that's a thing that a lot of people talked about post-COVID. A lot of companies went to working remotely and people were having to only be on videos. And during that time, actually, I found that I got even closer with my team, because during the video calls, while we couldn't necessarily see each other's body language, but we could have very direct, clear conversations. And if there was something that needed to be talked about a little bit further, that could be another half-hour conversation one-on-one with somebody, but it made our team calls a lot more productive, actually. And it forced everybody to, how you said, writing it down, it forced everybody to sort of be more clear about what our intentions are, so that it made our time most productive.
Can you build company culture with people not, because the challenge is that the people aren't in person. So it's like they don't know. Sometimes like we're talking about like company, like the values we're saying, like the work ethic. They don't see Erick working till 10, or they don't see you doing this. So like, oh, he's actually going above and beyond. It inspires them to go try to be above and beyond and not lack. And when they're not in person, maybe they might not have it, or is it just having the right person?
It's a little bit of both. So you guys are both married, right? Yes. And so when you got to a place where you're married, you know who you are and you know what you stand for, and you meet another person who might have similar values or might have a similar background or something that made you compatible. And of course, there's going to be some give and take and some conversations that are probably a little uncomfortable sometimes. But if you're both going towards the end goal of having a successful marriage, you're adaptable. You can let go a little bit of what you're strong on, or lean on the other person a little bit. And that's what makes for a good marriage. It's the same thing that makes for a good team. And so, yes, you have to come in aligned to where we want to go as a company, and aligned to how we're going to get there. Because our personalities are our values. And so that's yes, you can build a company culture through that. It is critical. I think it's super important to know where people are coming from and how they're wired, how they're pre-wired. So, for example, one of my company culture and personal value is curiosity. I'm always curious. I ask a lot of questions. And I have to watch my face, because sometimes my face gets really serious. But it's really, I'm asking questions because I'm interested in how a person thinks, so that I can either align to their way of thinking or help them to see a different way of thinking. So curiosity is a big value, and it plays every day in the work that I do. I'm a business coach. I ask questions, and I ask questions. One of the first things I ask, you talked about a vision. Let's go back to this one. I'm going to challenge you guys a little bit. So when it comes to vision, and I'm working with a business owner, I don't only talk about the business vision. Like, where's the vision of this company? Where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself in 5 years, 3 years, 10 years? But I also talk about you, the owner. What do you want out of life? Where are you headed? What is important in you in your life? Think about it like riding a bicycle. You're the rider of the bicycle. The front tire is your personal vision, where you want to go in life, what's important to you, how you spend your time with your family and friends, how you are involved in your community, everything else. The back tire, that's your business. That's your job. That's what gives fuel to you to have the life you want to live. You're the rider. You can go as fast as you want. You can pedal your ass off. You can steer in any direction you want. But unless that front tire and back tire are aligned, something is going to give, and it's going to be you. You're going to be bouncing off of that bike. But in order to keep it aligned, you'll have a more enjoyable ride and have a much better run business. What that also means is that it's also helping you to prioritize what you say yes to in terms of your time, where you invest your time, where you invest in certain people, and what's important to you and what drives you.
Yeah, you got to be stingy with your time. I think that's the biggest one that a lot of people you're not doing XYZ thing now with friends or family members. I think like you said, it goes back to the vision. This is where I'm trying to go. This is the time frame I go on to get there. And it's like, it's not like you're not with me and you're against me, but it's kind of like, I need to do this. And if you want to do that other thing, that's fine, but it's going to, take some time away from us. That's why our company, our top value that we have for our company is family first. If you're not good at home, like with shit, like it's not going to work, You're just bringing more negativity, more.
Absolutely. But to that, so even in the front tire, there's all the different spokes in that wheel, right? One of them is family. One of them is the amount of income you want to be making. Another one is how you want to travel or your role in the community. And so if family first, but the rear tire needs you to be working until 10 o'clock at night, Erick, and family, so maybe the kids are missing dad because he's working until 10 o'clock at night, 5 days a week, that's going to throw you off the bike. And so maybe you can work until 10 o'clock at night one day that week because it's a critical project, but you can't do it every night because that's going to hurt one of the spikes in your front tire. So you have to always be weighing those two out.
But it comes down to the priorities. Like, am I being effective? That's the biggest thing. Like, I'm busy, but are you being effective? Like, the whole day, like you said, I'm here till 10 or I'm here till 8 p.m. Analyze your whole freaking day. Are you being effective with it? And for me, sometimes it's like kind of seeing that with stuff. You're like, I almost feel like I'm doing the same amount of stuff, doing stuff like one day later. Like, instead of doing it, say working like every day, say if I do it 6 days, I'm still getting all my stuff done. So like, why couldn't I do it before? But it's like taking that step back and trying to see it. And it's
prioritize. If you had a business owner that says, I want to spend more time with the family, but their business requires them to be traveling 4 days out of the week, like traveling out of state. Well, maybe you could do that for a very, very short duration, but that cannot be your life. It cannot be your lifestyle because you're not then living for your personal vision, because your personal vision is I want to be there for my family. I want to enjoy car rides and going to the games. Well, you can't. So some things got to give. Prioritize, which is more important. And it could also be for a duration. Like I have one business owner that says, look, my kids are 14 and 16. And I know that for the next 3 years, I have to be present and I have to be here. And so we're building a plan for what the next 3 years are. But 5-year plan has some significant growths in there because then that person is freed up. The kids are going to be in college and the couple can do a lot more things on their business. So yeah, it is about prioritizing, but always keeping an eye on the bigger vision. Where do I really want to go?
It is having those conversations like with your partner. Because if you're thinking about it, like, yeah, I'm gonna do this for 2 years and then we'll be set, but then you never communicate that to your partner, then they're gonna be like, what's going on here? Like, well, like what's the plan? And then it's gonna cause a lot of conflict between the two of them.
And back to the same with company culture. If your employees don't know where you want to go and they don't know what's important for right now, what keeps them around to know that you've got their back? And that's a part of company culture too, because we always look at employees, but it starts with leadership. If you can carve the path in your family to what the plans are, and the family can say, okay, that's cool, we'll live with that, do the same with your team and your staff so they know where we're headed. For example, I was in the meat business for a lot of years, and it's funny, but I always wondered, would a vegetarian want to come and work for a meat company? Like, it doesn't align with your personal values. How is that? And granted, a lot of people can do that.
Were there any?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, believe it or not, there are.
How do they deal with it?
Or people that have like allergies to a certain meat, they can't eat like chicken or pork or whatever, but yeah, they do it because again, it's the job, right? And so if in their personal vision, these were their values and they needed a certain number for their income to have the kind of life they want, the job could be anything because the job can change. The company can change anytime. Even you have this awesome company today, it could be sold. It could be acquired by somebody else. You could then grow and acquire another person. Think of them separately, who you are and where your company is going.
Do you think, kind of on that, what you said, like, I want to make X amount of dollars to be able to achieve my financial goals, but where your like personal value goes in, like your non-negotiable stuff, because like we want to make a lot of money, but we've had to leave money on the table because you're just like, I don't like the way that shit's ran. So it's like, then how does that go in hand with?
It's a part of your personal values. I think you stick with what you believe is your principle and what's right for you, and you find another way to bring that money in, because it doesn't only come from one source. The money's out there to be made. Be creative.
So is there such a thing as having a good work-life balance?
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, stay above it. Don't be so involved in the business. If you're working until 10 o'clock at night, 3 days, 5 days a week, why? Are you being too critical of certain things? Are you putting too much attention in something that you may not need to be doing it to that level? So, and it's hard to do that for yourself, but that's why having a partnership and having that honest, loving, and direct conversation of, for example, Erick, maybe you're too much of a perfectionist. And maybe if you did 80% and you were okay and it was great, then stop at 80%. Leave at 6 p.m. You don't need to be here until 8, because your productivity between 6 and 8 for that extra, little bit of perfectionism nobody's going to see. It's not worth it. Stop it.
She's watching through
She's watching me.
She's
Are
watching
you?
through
Is
the
that
window.
you?
Yeah, that's me. I'm a
Yep.
huge perfectionist, and I heard something that it's like, it's going to take you 20% of your time to get 80% of the work done. And it's going to take you the 80% you have left to do that other 20%. It's like, you need to learn to be fine with just having the 80% there, because the 80% is still going to be better than a lot of people's 100%.
It took me a lifetime to learn that myself. And it is absolutely true. It
But
is
it's hard.
absolutely true. Yes.
It's
is
hard
difficult.
because like I'm a perfectionist. This work is going out with my name on it. Like, the brand that we've built, like, it has to be top notch. So it's like always pushing to have the perfect product out there.
It does. But top notch to you might be here, but for what the requirement of the job is here. So you have to figure out, can I stop myself here so that I can do more jobs? Because if you keep working until 10 o'clock at night, well, you're tapped out. What are you going to be here until midnight when the next client comes in, and 2 a.m, and you never sleep? Then we don't have Erick anymore. So we need Erick. So Erick has to take care of himself. There's a book, 10X is easier than 2X. And the principle of all this, so that we've all heard the 80-20 rule, but I think you just nailed it. So keep the 20% of you that's doing really well. And the other 80% are bad habits. Get rid of those bad habits. Identify what they are. If perfectionism is a bad habit, I know it sounds like a really good word. Oh, I'm perfectionist. It's a bad habit. You're costing yourself another client. You're costing another client not benefiting from what you and your organization can do for them because you're burnt out. Or maybe you're not burnt out today, but you will be. And back to the staying aligned with, I need to sleep, I need to eat, I need to be home for my family so that I can do a great job at work. So how do we combat that?
That's interesting, because I don't know if you're familiar with Andy Frisella. He has a power list. He's always saying, like, write your stuff down, like, get these things done, like, that you have to get done during the day, and just focus on those things and do them. And it's like you said, it's the priority. Sometimes I write my stuff down every day of what I'm going to do, and sometimes it's like I think it was yesterday, for example, it was like 10 or 11, and I already got my stuff done for the day. So you think about it, is it like this every day? Am I just fucking off the rest of the half the day, pretty much just like saying you're busy, but you're not being effective? And that's how it gets to me when I'm while working on the computer, when I'm doing whatever. Like, there gets a time where I kind of catch myself like I'm not being effective, and I have to stop work, go home with my kids, do something, and then I can come back and work doing, and then come back to work maybe a little bit like later. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, you need to pause. You need to refresh.
Yeah, and I've come to realize that recently that the better I take care of myself, the more I have to actually give into the business. Like, sleeping was a big one for me, because I would stay up late, 2, 3, 4 in the morning editing, but then I'd wake up later the next day, and it'd just be that constant rotation. It's I'm not getting any rest or anything, and it's hindering my performance. But it wasn't okay, let me prioritize sleep. Let me continue to work out, because working out, if I don't work out for a couple of days, then I start to feel it. I kind of starts to it makes it feel weird if I don't do it.
Absolutely.
But it's not until I actually took a step back, like you're saying, and kind of notice these things, that I came to realize oh, okay, I actually need to prioritize these things to be able to perform.
Here's another fun trick. Spend some time in imagination. So you're the co-founders of this company. You have a vision. It's written down. Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
To an extent.
To an extent. Not.
That's where you go back to, like, we have to reevaluate, like it was when you started, but then you have to sit down and, like, reevaluate them.
Okay.
We barely wrote down our core values here recently.
Okay. So. Yeah, those are, they really don't take a lot of time to do that, but set aside a couple of hours to sit together and write what's important. What is our vision? What do we want out of this company? Who are we serving? Who are the clients that we want to be serving, and what do we want to be doing for them? That's our vision for the company. And once we know our values, then go back and spend a little bit of time imagining ourselves as the co-founders. What are our roles? And identifying what your roles are and what you're really responsible for. So now we know where we're going, how we're going to get there through these values, who's going to do what. And now spend some time thinking about what's the best version of the Erick that does this role, and the Monico that does this role. What's the best version? How do they talk? How do they dress? How do they sleep? What is in their mind at all times? Spend some time with that future version of you. And I do this a lot in coaching. I really do try to understand what's the best version of yourself. And only you know the answer to that. So really spend some time in imagining who is that person and get to know them. Start looking like them. Start sleeping like them. Start talking like them. Start finding the types of clients that person wants to go get. And before you know it, you're starting to put together the future version of you is happening right now. You're showing up every day, well-rested, working out, you've prioritized, you're getting everything done that's important, you know what's important, and you're like, you call yourself out, okay, I'm being, crazy OCD on this one. It's good where it is. I'm going to hit stop, and I'm going to go take a time and go do this other thing. It's critical.
Say the phrase, fake it till you make it.
So there's a little bit of that, right? So that the fake it till you make it ends up with the imposter syndrome kicking in. So a lot of CEOs end up with that, like, oh my God, how did I get to this place where I'm the CEO? I have 17 employees working for me. I'm just a guy, Well, but if you know how you did it and you know how you got there, it's not really faking it, because that person that you saw yourself, that sleeps well, eats well, exercises, shows up, full of energy, gets the stuff done, and knows what is important and what isn't important, that person isn't made up. He's already you. If you can identify it, you're already that person. So start living that. And if Monico won't hold you accountable to that, your coach will, right? You guys played sports. You know that your coach knew what you're capable of and will push you to that thing that you're capable of. So it's hard to do it for ourselves sometimes, which is why we go and hire a personal trainer or a business coach or an accountability partner, or you're a part of a think tank. But it's other people that know what you're capable of and will hold you accountable to it. It just elevates you to another higher standard. So you're not letting your bad habits get in the way. And again, I'm going to call perfectionism a bad habit, because it does. It sometimes gets in your way and you just get spiraling into this thing, but you left all this other great stuff out on the table.
Mm-hmm. So I was going to say, so asking for a friend, why do most partnerships fail?
Just like anything else, lack of communication. And it's lack of communication coupled with lack of knowing who you are and what you're wanting to do.
It's like a phrase I heard on the way this morning from Andy Frisella. You are great. The things that you did to get you to this level is what made you great. It's like kind of realizing, like, because he talked about it because someone asked him a question about, like, I'm looking on the baseball team and I'm like struggling with this and this and this. Like, I started off good. I started off thinking I was good and stuff, but then I kind of just found myself slacking. And he's like, well, you got to go back to the roots. Like, what were you doing before then that was making you feel good? Were you going to practice twice a day, or were you going to practice once a day? Were you staying on top of your meal plan, or were you slacking a little bit? So he's like, you might be slacking a little bit now because you got comfortable where you were. So you got to go back and do the things that you were doing to get you back to the level you need to be at.
I love that. It's like the going back to the basics. Just if you think about it, and everything that we do, going back to the basics makes it so much easier. And we let go of some of the bad habits that we pick up along the way. Comfort is another bad habit. Oh, of course we want to be comfortable. And there's a time and place for being comfortable. But if you're coming into work, or you're showing up as a dad, or you're showing up as a husband, you still have to work. You still have to do something.
Yeah, I think going a little bit different subject. I think comfort. I think society has sold us that you got to seek comfort, and I don't think you should, because like the more you feel accomplished when you do something hard, like say you did a workout, or like you held the line, or you did the call you had to do, like yeah, it wasn't comfortable doing it, but like that was the way to get better. And a good example for me is like, if I'm doing something, like my daughter, if she sees me doing something hard, like, and they're like, oh, maybe I could, do it also. But I think they sell you to be like, just like, I guess I know there's probably is a time and place for like comfort, but the thing is that people want to be comfortable all the time and achieve great things, and those don't go hand in hand.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
It's almost like being comfortable is being uncomfortable.
Sounds very cliche, but what's one of the biggest challenges you see like business owner when they're trying to grow, when they're trying to scale? Because most times when you're doing that is like they get what's the word I'm looking for? Like they stop themselves.
Self-sabotage?
Yeah.
They get in their own way.
Is that some of the top things that you see? I mean, you deal with more business owners than us, like, and you're coaching. I mean, to get them to know a little bit better.
So ask me that question again.
So like, what's one of the things that like stops them from becoming better? Like doing,
growing the business.
Whether it's growing the business or, what is it? Them getting in their way? Like they don't know how to hire. Like what is it that's...
I think just in human nature, we get in our own way with our own limiting beliefs. I'm not good at this, or I'm a perfectionist, so it takes me longer to do things, or, I'm not cut out for this material. I don't come from that type of people. Those are every one of those. There's a way to overcome it. And in fact, it's your desire of wanting to change that. And I think when you know what you want, back to the whole vision idea, that's all vision is. It's like knowing what you want. If you can see yourself in the future, you know what you want, then you ask yourself, what will it take to get there? And do the hard work to get there. But you have to know where you want. That's why I said spend a little bit of time in imagination. Spend a little time saying, what do I really want? What do I want to accomplish? Like, here I am at the Inceptions Podcast. What do we want to accomplish? What is the goal of this podcast? Who do we want to bring on? And what type of, whatever it is, but really ask yourself. And I think if you really ask yourself and you really dig deep, we all have the answers. And sometimes we're just so busy doing that we don't pay attention to it. Like stop, think. And that, when we were talking about the opportunity to be with other business owners and to elevate our thinking, it has nothing to do with the business you're in, because we're all in business we do different things, but 75-80% of what we do in business is exactly the same. Exactly the same. The 25% that you do, that's your craft, that's like, we have a dentist on our board. Nobody can teach her how to do a root canal, but we can teach her about how to like keep track of things, or how to keep her eye on the higher prize, or whatever the goal is what the other business owners can help her think a little bit bigger and elevate out of the day-to-day. Isn't it interesting? Like, they tell you, get out of the weeds, like come up a level. Yeah, when you come up a level, things seem more manageable. And so when your goals are a little bit bigger, they should scare you a little bit, and they should make you a little bit uncomfortable, because that means you're going to have to do some things differently. And most importantly, let go of some of the things you're doing. That, I think, is a big challenge for people. They don't want to let go of the thing. Oh, I have to wear all the hats. If I don't do everything, things fall apart. Do they? If you were to get hit by a truck tomorrow and you're out for a couple of weeks, months, things will still happen. They might not be exactly the way you wanted, but It'll still happen. So get out of your own way.
As long as you have the right systems in place and the right people.
Yeah. And
do you think part of it's just like people's ego getting in the way?
Oh yeah, big time. But you can't let everything depend on you. So the best way for a company to build value in the company, and ask anybody who has ever been a part of a merger or acquisition, or anybody who is a business broker, they'll tell you, if the business is dependent on one person, the owner, the founder, the CEO, whatever it is, it's not really a business. That's just a job. A business is set up for critical success and has value when it has all the foundations laid out and business can move forward. The CEOs can just guide the ship, but they can't be doing everything.
Yeah, no, that's good. I like that. It's got me thinking.
When people like come to you and they ask you for help, what are the reasons they come to you? Like, do they come to you for coaching? Do they come to you because they're struggling with like their leadership?
I don't know that anybody actually seeks out a business coach. I don't think anybody's like, well, let me find a business coach near me, because, it's very difficult for us as humans to say we're lacking on something. But sometimes it's when there's a feeling of burnout. Like, you know what, I'm ready to sell this place. I'm done. Well, it's not that easy. Or it's, I need to either fire my entire team or fire myself as their CEO because this isn't working out. But there reaches a point of overwhelm or a point of confusion, or, if you imagine like stair climbing, there, you can figure out what you're doing, but it gets to a point like, I've never been here before and I don't know what to do. And at that point, you have to seek out help. And I think those are the points where something needs to change. And I've exhausted all of my efforts for the last 2 years or the last 6 months or whatever it is to figure out what needs to change, and I haven't figured it out. So I need an outside perspective to help me see that thing. And it's incredible. Sometimes somebody from an outside perspective can see it just like that. And then if you're aligned to it, then you start moving in that direction. And it is the key that unlocks the door, and you're right back up to climbing. And that I think is when it's the most critical.
Yeah, I think most people, I think all business owners technically should have like some sort of business consultant, just seeing a different perspective of the stuff they're doing. Because a lot of times, like you're saying about the dentist, like you're really good at root canals, or you're really good at doing concrete or roofing, whatever. But that doesn't mean you know how to run a business, or you know how to market it, you know how to do videos, you know how to do accounting. Like there's so much that goes into it. And I like to call it the spider web effect. If you're doing everything, the spider web's going to give in because you're doing so many things. You're gonna cave because it's too heavy. It's too heavy for you. But yeah, I think that's the hardest thing for a lot of people, to be able to like pause and be like, I need help. Because you don't want to look like a bitch in your business. Like, you need help. You're like the successful guy in everyone else's eyes. But now you're like, it seems like to a certain extent like you're going backwards. But it's like sometimes you gotta take, like they say, you gotta take 2 steps forward, 2 steps back to be able to take 5 forward. You got to be able to do it. But having that, I don't know, that humility to kind of say, I'm not that
humility,
good,
self-awareness.
Yeah, self-awareness is key. And oftentimes it really happens after they've spent a lot of time and money trying to do things the way that they know how to do it, and then they get to a frustrated level. And I think like a couple of the people that I worked with that I'm working with right now that are pre-revenue, they knew that, look, I know I'm going to get to a place where I don't know what to do. So I'd rather have a coach right now from the get-go to make sure that I stay aligned to doing things right, which is incredible. And then there are some that we've spent a lot of time and money and heartache. And honestly, it's a lot of cost. If you think about it, it's a lot of cost that went into it, and burnout. You can't buy that back, but it does happen. And there are amazing success stories of the business owner actually coming out of that. So the same person that told me that I need to, get rid of everybody or fire myself is now at a place where the business is pretty much running itself on the day-to-day basis. The founder has found more time to work in the industry and become more of a leader in the industry, and has actually founded another company that's on its way to make another set of millions for themselves and created more wealth for themselves. So yeah, that's beautiful that they can get to a place where I'll take some help. And asking for some help is one of the toughest things we do. I mean, that big long running joke is like, Dad won't stop and ask for directions and we're lost and we keep, well, yeah, just stop. Like, save yourself some time. I mean, shoot, we were talking about hiring like a health coach. I don't know what the heck I'm doing in the gym. I need somebody to show me that stuff because I don't want to waste time. I don't want to hurt myself. I want to do this right. So yeah, I'll pay somebody to do that with me.
Someone who already knows the path. It's like, why not?
And that's important because even like you, you're very successful, like business wise, like, you've achieved a lot of success, but you're like, I'm lacking in this, so I need help. So like you go get a coach, to help you in that. So who are some of your mentors, if you don't mind sharing?
Oh, I've had some great mentors throughout my life. My goodness. A lot of the business leaders that I've worked with, the CEOs that I've had the honor to serve under, personalities aside, everybody has, we all have our personalities, but I've learned a lot of really, really good things from them. One person is the one that gave me the idea that, look, I'm the boss. It doesn't mean I know everything. My job is to remove the roadblocks from your path. You know what you're doing. I hired you for this job. And I think this was like, God, it was like in the 90s that these words were said to me. And it never left my mind that a boss's job is to remove roadblocks. So your roadblock could be that you don't know how to do it. So he would teach me how to do it. Or I didn't have the skills or the awareness or the knowledge. So he would open a pathway to help me get that. And that was all he did. And he was one of the best leaders ever. He approached it more as a teacher, as a coach. And that helped me with how I want it to be for my team as well, as more of like, when I told you I didn't know anything about graphic design, I still don't. And I love that because I can't just say, here, get out of the way. Let me sit down and do your job for you. I can't, which makes it great. I rely on them. And isn't that the whole thing of what business is? Companies rely on you to do what you're going to do for them. You rely on your team to do what they're going to do for you. We're all connected in that way. And at the core bottom of it is leadership and working with other people. That was my mom, another mentor. She always used to tell me in her accent, life is learning about how to deal with people. And it's true. How to deal with your employees, how to deal with your spouses, how to deal with your friends. You really need to know about people. And that, again, is that raising, the leadership in all of us. We all have it. We're all adaptable human beings. We can all learn to be a little bit more direct. We could learn to be a little more soft when delivering a message, Those are all things that we can learn. And if you're in business and you're a 20-year-old and you got into business and you're a great roofer, and here you are, you have 47 people working for you, whoever taught you how to be a business leader? Right? Like you were mentioning, the accounting, the marketing. Yeah, you can hire people for that, but you're still the CEO and the owner. Who is helping you to deal with how to manage these people and get them aligned to where you want them to go? What's best for the business? Because now you've made it. Now you have 50 people on your team and you're no longer required to be a roofer, but you're now required to be a leader and hire the next level of great roofers so that you can have a company that has, a restoration company or a roofing company. It's somebody that people want to hire because you're good at what you do.
You've been part of and built a bunch of multi-million-dollar companies. Mm-hmm. Have you retired? So when's enough? Is that such thing? Because I think a lot of business owners deal with that. Like everyone, they get it from friends, family members. Like, when's enough?
Are you talking enough money?
I don't know.
Enough money or enough, like, keep building businesses?
I guess a better question would probably be like, what motivates you to come out of retirement?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I don't think it's about money. It's money is just a way that we keep score here, right? Like how much we vote for things we like with our dollar. But really it is not work for me when I talk to another person and inspire them to think differently or to be a better version of themselves. It is not work for me. That to me is, call it a gift, call it a learned skill. I think that is just something I have done my entire life. People have asked me to be a mentor for their children when I was a child myself. I don't know. I think I'm also the oldest of 4 girls. So maybe that's just something that I was born with, but it's not work for me to help a person see a better version of themselves, because we're all destined for greatness. That's guaranteed. So how do you get there? And if you're going to be standing in your own way and say, I don't need help, get out of my way, well, you're only going to get so far. But if there's somebody looking right at you saying, I can help you, say yes. What have you got to lose? Say yes. Make a decision to help yourself.
Yeah. What do you say to people that kind of say sometimes they'll be like, what's easy for you to say because you got money now, when you say like you don't do it for the money? Do you think sometimes people that they're, you could say, motivated by the wrong reasons, because they're like, I want to get to X dollar amount, and then once they get there, then
I still want to get to an X dollar amount.
No, but I'm saying like when that's their only goal, like getting to, like you said, you want to get to X dollar amount, but then you're doing it for all these other reasons too.
There's always other reasons.
A lot of other people, I think there might be, I mean, just from experience that I've had, a lot of people that I talk to too, they just have like, they just want to do it for this, and they just have like a dollar amount, and then that's it.
It's not true. I dig a little deeper. Why is that dollar amount? What does that dollar amount represent? Like, there's got to be some emotional connection to that dollar amount. So for example, yesterday I was talking to a business owner and she wants to be a $1 million business by the time she's 40. She's 37. Great. Why $1 million? It sounds good. We'll dig a little deeper. And somebody told her she couldn't. Somebody told her it's hard. Our people don't do that. She's hell-bent and determined to make that happen. And she's well on her way. She's got that fire in her eyes. Does she need a little bit of guidance and coaching to get there? Yeah, maybe. But she'll get that, and no doubt in my mind, she'll be there.
Yeah, that's
is that a bad thing though? Like, what motivates them is to get to an X amount of dollars?
No, because it represents something to them. It either represents a status, it represents an achievement, it represents something that's emotional, something that's deep in here. And, maybe it's, for another business owner, maybe it's sticking it to the guy that, made him feel hurt back in the day. It could be family members. It could be the society they came from. There's something that motivates us, and money or cars or any of that, they're just things that we have. They don't really make a person. What makes a person is how they're wired and who they are and how they deal with society and how they deal with everybody else.
Yeah, that's one thing for me. I was just asking that because I think people have to be emotional in business. 100%. Because if you're not emotional, it's like, if you don't care if this works or not, then why are you even doing it? So it's like, I think they have to be emotional. That's why I was kind of asking, like, there has to be something bigger than just money. I guess they just say for just, I want to make 6 figures. I want to make 7 figures. Yeah. But in reality, no. You should want to. There should be something bigger.
I always ask them, what will that do? What will that buy you? And if it's a car or what, okay, and now that you have the car, now what? Now what will it buy you? Well, better clothes. Okay, great. And then what? Bigger house, you got a yacht, you got all that. What does it buy you? Is it a status? Is it what is the emotional part of it? And by the way, that whole analogy of the bicycle, the front being the personal vision and the back being the company vision, it has to be personal. It has to be emotional. There has to be a reason why you do what you do. Otherwise, why are you working so hard? It has to be so that you can provide something, and it's not like provide food and shelter for my family. That's basic. But it has to be around something else that's driving you.
Yeah, the price. Mm-hmm. You pay the price now, you pay the price later. The prices, rent's due every day.
Yeah. Yep.
So let's go back in time a little bit. What advice would you give to yourself when you were just starting out, when you're in your 20s, just starting out to get into this corporate world? Like, what advice, either business or life, would you give to yourself?
Oh, that's such a great question. I think about that all the time because I learned this later in life, is you have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself. I'm just naturally a selfless person. I like to help. I like to overdo and give, but you have to take care of yourself. And that is a very expensive lesson that some people don't pay attention to. Take care of your health, take care of your own time, And the better you can take care of I'm looking at you, Erick, the better you can take care of yourself now, the better you'll be as a partner in your family, as a partner in your business, and as a partner for your clients. Prioritize yourself. You only have this one body and this one life. So do that. Do prioritize that. Being a people pleaser, not so great. Because you throw yourself to the curb on those.
Well, Eva, appreciate it. Thanks for having us on. Thanks for being on with us and giving us your time on your birthday.
Thanks. It was a pleasure being here.